Joining me on the line, he is from Cinemablend.com. You can find him on social media at Mr. Controversy 83. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Reyes is here, and he looked like he just got off a 3-day bender.
Look, dude, I just got my first vax, and the mutant powers are taking a little while to kick in, okay?
Or is this just the look that a person has after Justice League?
I would say it's the look a person has after Justice League, whether you approve of it or not. You know, this is also the look of someone who has to go and get ready for some junkets in a little while to speak with some people about Kong versus Godzilla, which we'll be talking about in the next couple weeks.
There you go. All right, Mike Reyes joining me on the line to talk about movies and stuff. Let's get right to it. Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, officially out on HBO Max at this point. You saw it 4 hours. What did you think?
I thought it was amazing.
Really?
Yes, especially because I went back, and a lot of people like to do this. I went back and I watched Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, and I watched the Ultimate Edition of Batman versus Superman. So it's like the extra half hour added in, and everything. Like, I already liked Man of Steel. I was not a huge fan of Batman versus Superman when I went into the theater. But the Ultimate Edition, kind of set up my expectations for, and my ultimate, opinion of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because even from that point, with the stuff that Zack Snyder was allowed to add back into Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition plays better. It plays much better. Maybe it's also like lack of initial expectations, but Jesse Eisenberg plays better as Lex Luthor. The whole story just generally worked better for me this time out. So going into Zack Snyder's Justice League, this is a 4-hour epic. I don't think Zack Snyder can be contained to normal run times anymore, because we even saw it with Watchmen back in 2009. He added maybe 15 minutes to half an hour on that for the director's cut and rearranged some scenes. And the film played so much better than it did in theaters. Zack Snyder's Justice League is basically a magnum opus. This is everything it's been leading to. It shows why they didn't go with separate origin movies like Marvel did, because there's a lot of Cyborg and Flash in here where it almost feels like Captain America Civil War. They introduce these other characters, they give enough of their stories to make the story work, and then they can go on and do their own movies later.
Okay.
And it's just... I sat in one sitting. I sat and watched it Sunday morning. I got up early so I could watch the whole thing in one sitting. It does not lag. It does not feel like 4 hours. It just feels rich and epic and big. And I want them to send this to theaters when we get the all clear, because I'm ready to watch it in an IMAX with intermissions, of course.
I'm legitimately kind of surprised, because did I think it could be better or different? Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. Am I planning on me loving it 10 times more than I love the original one? No.
Well, I don't think it doesn't have to convert everyone.
But hear me out. 4 hours, I don't care who you are, that's long.
I believe it was one of my editors, Sean, who I've mentioned tons of times here. I think he's the one that keeps quoting Roger Ebert as saying, a bad movie is never short enough and a good movie is never long enough. And I'm really getting sick of people saying, oh, all movies should be an hour and a half. It's like, no, movies should be as long as they need to be, so long as you get what you need to get done. And Zack Snyder's Justice League earns 4 hours. There is just too much of a story that if you really wanted to, you probably could have split it into 2 separate films. Or I still kind of hope HBO Max might split it into an episodic thing, because it's clearly set up as an episodic thing. It's clearly set up in chapters.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect as a one continuous viewing, but I'll admit that some people may want to watch it as an episodic project, and I'm on the fence with that, but I wouldn't mind it, because then you go back to the whole Irishman debate where it's like, oh, why wasn't The Irishman a Netflix series? Some movies are just long.
Yeah.
If you don't have the attention span and don't want to sit there for that whole thing, you don't have to. But I think that I think people shouldn't shy away from long run times, because it's just another creative decision that hampers movies to the point where this movie got so cut up just to be 2 hours, and look what happened there.
Let me ask you this. Originally, okay, going back to if things would have just worked out right, If they would have put a 4-hour movie into theaters back then, would people have gone?
I think it would have. I think that they probably would have had advance word of how epic this would have been. Like, you probably, because the critical response right now has been really, really favorable to this movie, at least last I looked. And I think that it would have drawn more people in as a curiosity. It's like, wow, 4 hours. Like, look at Titanic. Back in 1998, there was a 3-hour movie, and it was like, ooh, 3 hours. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Listen, the reason I kind of ask it like that is, and this is kind of flashes over to the Marvel side of the things, where, when the first run times of Endgame started coming out, and no, don't roll your eyes at me.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes at you. I'm rolling my eyes at what I remember hearing people say about it.
But I mean, even with a movie that had so much going into it, people were going 3 hours. That's a long time, so
that's what I roll my eyes at.
So me thinking, I sound like a caveman there, me thinking
Justice League questions.
But if you would go back and, not the Snyder Cut that, came out on HBO Max, but if you would have put this out originally as a 4-hour movie with the history that DC movies had at the time, I don't know if 4 hours is the way to go.
To be fair, the whole argument rests on what they did with Batman versus Superman. If they had put out a 3-hour Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition, the R rating, which both of these movies are barely R to begin with. It's just like a couple times they drop an F-bomb and there's some blood, but it's not like it's not like Watchmen. No. There's no blue dog hanging here. But
Watchmen.
I think if they had trusted Zack Snyder to begin with Batman versus Superman and let the Ultimate Edition go out, I think fans might have had a better expectation for the sort of filmmaker that Zack Snyder is and where he wanted to take things. Because watching Ultimate Edition, the Saturday night before I watched Justice League, a lot of things connected better. Yeah. And just they sort of really they should never have compromised his vision. Because it's always like, oh, well, if it's a 4-hour movie, we're only going to be able to run it 3 times a day. Yeah, but could you imagine selling out those showings 3 times a day and having an extended engagement?
I haven't watched the second edition of Batman vs. Superman. Is that the one? Is that on HBO Max?
Yes. Batman, all of them are on HBO Max right now. Batman vs. Superman, Ultimate. Man of Steel never got an extended, but I would be really interested if there was ever anything he wanted to put back in there.
Yeah,
there's very few Zack Snyder movies that don't have a director's cut. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, really.
I think the only ones are Man of Steel and 300.
I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch all 4 hours. You know what? I think I'm going to watch the Batman, the director's cut before this, because I have heard that plays better, but I can't sit here and look you in the eye and tell you I'm excited to watch Justice League.
I was interested before going into this. I was interested, but I can't say that I was like, oh my God, yes. It's like the big thing that won me over about the Snyder Cut was the fact that a director had a vision and they were being given a chance to actually put it back into the world after the studio did what they did. Because there's so many other stories of other movies. Like earlier, like late last year, that whole interview I did with Paul W.S. Anderson about Event Horizon getting cut like by a good half hour.
Yeah.
Like always those stories of the studio mandates cuts, the studio mandates this, and then it happens, and then the movie fails. And I'm not saying it's always going to work, but I like the fact that they took a chance. They gave him the opportunity to make the movie he wanted. And even if it doesn't convert everyone, the fact that Zack Snyder's Justice League shows the work better than anything else, like at least it shows his work and you understand, okay, that's where he was going, fine. You know what? People may not like it.
Yeah.
But for me, it felt like watching the Avengers again because it was that culmination of this universe focusing on one hinge point. And this is a really exciting hub where things could go anywhere. And there's some really heroic, like hero moment shots in this, and yeah.
Sorry, someone else Someone else decided to call on Facebook Messenger right then and there.
You're a popular guy.
I don't know about that. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line. Okay, so you like Justice League. Are you surprised you liked it?
I'm surprised how much I liked it.
Okay.
I said, I was going into this, and I had not watched Batman versus Superman since I saw it in the theater, and was like, Okay, really? But refreshing myself in the ways of the Snyderverse was something that I highly recommend to anyone because it worked so well for me. And then just going into this with all of that, like he really is good at tying his films back to the previous installments in the opening. Because
Okay.
Batman vs Superman opens with the end of Man of Steel, which I still think you cut that beginning from Batman versus Superman, where Bruce Wayne is heading into Metropolis as like a first responder, and you put that at the end of Man of Steel. That's a perfect teaser.
Yeah.
And then you start Batman versus Superman with the memories of his parents and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, I was just really surprised with how well it worked, and I really want Warner Brothers to restore the Snyderverse.
All right. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me on the line to talk about movies. Was there another movie out this week?
Yes, there is, and it's one that's even easier to catch because it's on VOD and Redbox disc. It's a film called SAS Red Notice. And it stars Sam Heughan from Outlander, who plays this elite military agent that has to save a train full of passengers in the Channel Tunnel from a terrorist group. It's basically, it kind of plays like a Die Hard on a train. It's fun.
It's
a lot of fun.
Under Siege too.
Well, the train's stuck in the tunnel. It's not Eric Bogosian trying to hijack a satellite. It's Ruby Rose holding people hostage for reasons that are not revealed until later in the film.
Okay.
It's good though. Like I'll tell you this much: I like Ruby Rose, especially as a villain. Like between this and John Wick Chapter 2, she's just so much fun to watch.
All right, cool.
But it's a lot of fun. Andy Serkis gets to be this like grizzled sort of SAS commander who's all like, yeah, well, he just gets to smile and laugh, but also gets to be like serious and by the book, and it's a lot of fun.
No green screen or weird suit for him to.
No, he's just Andy Serkis having fun. He's like, I think he's kind of happy when he gets stuff like that because it reminds me of when he played Ulysses Claw in Black Panther and Infinity War.
Oh,
like
so
it's the same
sort
of, he's so good in everything. This man should have been nominated for his mocap work.
Yeah.
And for an Oscar, and sadly he has not been because they don't really recognize that. But anyway, Andy Serkis everyone's having fun in this movie. It's a nice like Die Hard on a train, but Sam Heughan does kind of show like how he could be a good James Bond if they want to cast him that way. Who knows? But yeah, SAS Red Notice. It's on Redbox On Demand, Redbox Disc, and other video on demand platforms have it as well.
Perfect. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joining me. Real quick, movie news other than like Justice League and that. Was there anything big coming out this week?
Well, of course they made the Oscar nominations, and I'm still trying to figure out. It's just such a weird year in terms of awards that I'm still trying to make heads or tails of what to say about it. Except Delroy Lindo should have been nominated as Best Actor, and Lakeith Stanfield should have been nominated as Best Actor because Delroy Lindo was amazing in Da 5 Bloods, but for some reason that movie has just been ignored by the awards community, which is interesting considering Spike Lee had such a showing with BlacKkKlansman.
Yeah.
Like, what happened in between then? And then in the case of Judas and the Black Messiah, Warner Brothers puts up Lakeith Stanfield as Best Actor and Daniel Kaluuya as Best Supporting. The Academy nominates both of them as Best Supporting.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Makes no sense. It's like, who's the lead? An invisible character? But anyway, it's messy. But let's see. The other there was apparently a going to other news. Black Widow. People still aren't sure if Disney is going to ever push it to Disney Plus or not. And I believe it was Bob Chapek, the CEO, basically said it's going to be a last minute decision. Like they're going to wait until the last possible moment to make that call.
I get it. Because I think of that movie and I want to see that because I like ScarJo and I think that character has deserved a movie. But
yeah,
with kind of the story behind it and all how it kind of fits into the Marvel universe, it's like I already know she makes it out alive because.
Well, depending on what happens.
Because we killed her in Endgame.
I know she's gonna die anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's like I know what's gonna happen, but I can see where they look at this movie and think, okay, we don't know how it's gonna work and we don't know Like, there's a lot of variables in how this movie could play out. Whether it's good,
Yeah.
whether it's bad, whether it's going to make money, whether it's not going to make money. It could be great. It could be a great Marvel movie, and nope, it doesn't draw. So I don't know. So I get it.
Yeah. And then, of course, in a similar vein, Venom, Let There Be Carnage decided to push itself into September, where I'm sure it will make so much more money. And speaking of Andy Serkis, he's directing that one.
That's cool. I
was not a fan of Venom. I'll watch it because, more Woody Harrelson and, Andy Serkis is directing it, so I'm assuming he might have a little better handle on this whole thing. But, yeah, I don't have high hopes for it.
I'm sorry, and maybe it's me being a comic book snob, but a pretty important piece of the Venom story is Spider-Man. And if you're trying to tell that story without the main part of that, I'm sorry, it doesn't work as well for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like deleting Uncle Ben out of the whole Spider-Man universe.
Yeah. It really is just one of those things where you're really it's one of those IP issues where it's like, we can't really use it, we don't have permission, so we're just gonna tiptoe around it and kind of
it would be like taking the death of Bruce Wayne's parents out of the Batman story.
Yeah, he became Batman because he slipped down the Joker stairs and was very mad.
Yeah. Does that pretty much cover it for this week?
Yeah, unless you want to talk about Ryan Reynolds getting blasted on his own gin watching Green Lantern.
Wait, what? Real quick.
Ryan Reynolds, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, Ryan Reynolds was like, yeah, I can't watch the Snyder Cut yet, but I'm going to turn on Green Lantern at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to watch it while drinking some of my aviation gin. He put up a drink recipe. He did a tweet commentary and mentioned like Taika Waititi, mentioned Blake Lively. It's all on there for you to look at now through his Twitter feed. And then, strangely enough, Zack Snyder retweets him and is like, hey, how about we do a double feature one day and I'll bring my bourbon, which I didn't know Zack Snyder had a bourbon, but he's got a bourbon.
Ooh.
Hand on stone. It's $300 a bottle.
Real quick question, okay?
Yes.
Would you rather see Zack Snyder team up with Ryan Reynolds to do a Marvel movie or a DC movie?
DC.
Really?
I think Zack Snyder's kind of too ingrained in DC right now, and he's still got a story to tell.
Would you bring Ryan Reynolds back as the Green Lantern?
Well, if you read some of the coverage we've got on the site, there was an idea for a Green Lantern, but it was not Hal Jordan. It was another Green Lantern. I don't know where we are in publishing that at this point, but stay tuned. They had an idea, and it's on another site already. They were going to do Jon Stewart, and the whole thing was it was going to be at a crucial moment, and it was going to be at a point in the finale of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay.
The studio nixed it, and another character was used, which we will not mention now because of spoilers.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com joins me every Friday on the show to talk about movies. Thank you so much, Mike.
Pleasure. Have a good one.